What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. You know, Jeremy, it's long anticipated for us, for so many people. We are now about 25 hours away from season 2 of The Last of Us. First season went so very well. Such great creativity, such great world building, such great acting. Really, that show hit on so many levels so well. The bar is set awfully high. So we're going to talk about our predictions for what we might see in season 2. Give you some bold predictions, as it were, and then just a little thing, hour or so, for us to just kind of tell you how ready we really are for this series. And boy, are we very ready! And of course, it wouldn't be a stream without Casey rolling here to try to do his thing.
He stalks your. I think he just stalks your shit and just waits to come in there. I don't.
Well, unlike you, Casey, I actually earn my my viewers and my subscribers. I don't have to pay for them on Fiverr like you do, so that's all right. And then of course, Dr. Nick here doing his thing. What's up, Dr. Nick? Go check out Alex and the Garbage Man. Link in the description. Fantastic show. Every Monday you should be there. But Jeremy, again, there's not going to be a whole lot of structure for this show. It's just me and Jeremy kind of talking around some stuff, giving you some thoughts. We do want to talk about first a little bit of a recap. Jeremy, why don't you kind of, in a few minutes, kind of boil down what we saw in the first season and compare it a little bit to the game?
Oh God, in a few minutes. You might need a few hours for that. So I tried to. Well, since I've now cleared out this space, I tried to do stuff with it, and then I was too lazy to change my sign, and then I tried to put one of the many copies of this game that I have because I have no shame in doing it, but they'll be my props. So let me start here with part 1. So season 1 of The Last of Us pretty faithfully follows the path of the game and a lot of the same story beats, with some changes. I mean, changes in like maybe location, like when they went to what was it, Omaha, Nebraska, I think. It wasn't excuse me, it wasn't Nebraska, it was like Pennsylvania or something. They hadn't gotten too far out of Boston when they got attacked by the Raiders or whoever, so to speak, that run that town now, that basically took over. There's some story elements left out because, I mean, when you got something like this kind of medium, when there's like hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay, you have quite a big platform to play with, even with a show. But there's things that they cut out, like you find out about the backstory of the people that lived in the sewers and the town that used to be around it, but you get a quick scene of it in the show, which is fun because if you turn into Leonardo DiCaprio when you notice the things, like, oh, I get that. I know what that is. It's not necessary to the show, but still. So essentially, the story is that there's a fungal outbreak. I'm trying to say Cenobites. Why are Cenobites on my brain? Why are Cenobites on my brain and not mushrooms? What the hell? I'm dropping the ball already on what this thing is called.
Well, we were just talking about Cenobites again. We were talking about what movie did we do recently? I forget now.
Yeah, that one. That movie that you should go watch a review of.
That one movie with the people, with the actors, with the face. That person. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a It's a fungal growth that
Event Horizon. That's the one we were talking about.
Event Horizon. Okay, I was like, I had something to do with a demon. I don't know. I'm going to look it up now because now it's going to upset me. Cordyceps. It started with a C and I couldn't. Cenobites, cordyceps, whatever. I can't imagine either one is very pleasant. Anyway, so it's a cordyceps, which is a real thing that grows mostly in like ants. It grows in their brain and just takes over that ant's body and kind of zombifies them, so to speak, and takes control. But it can't survive in humans, obviously, because our bodies are too warm and they couldn't survive in that. So this, the show kind of does they do a flashback to the 60s when they're talking about it. And they're like, yeah, well, what if it did happen? What if the earth got a little warmer? What if this thing became resilient to it, as viruses and other diseases are known to do? So that's the premise, is that this thing has evolved to now be able to survive in human hosts and basically just burst out of your skull and turn into they're I almost said walkers. That's runners. Sorry, it's different than Walking Dead. There's runners. There's infected. There's clickers. There's bloaters, and this is all depending on how long you've been infected. If you remember, like from Pirates of the Caribbean, like when Will Turner's dad becomes part of the ship, it's like that. Like the longer you become, the more to the environment you become just a part of it. And there's one little 14-year-old girl named Ellie who appears to be immune to this thing. She has a bite on her arm, and the group called the Fireflies is the one who takes her in, led by Marlene, who, which is really cool, was played by the same character in the show that was the same one who played her in the video game back in 2013, which is really cool to see. And she knew Ellie's mom, who in the show, amazing cameo by Ashley Johnson, who voiced Ellie in the game. So it's a cool little roundabout way to do that. And she entrusts the help of a smuggler named Joel, who has survived, I think this is like 20 years. So this happens in 2013 in the game, and then you jump for about 20 years to 2033. And Joel's kind of an anti-hero. He's not a good guy or a bad guy. You know, you just kind of do what you have to do to survive is kind of his whole thing. And after 20 years of that, I mean, that kind of, that'll make you pretty callous to a lot of things. So that's his deal. So Marlene entrusts Joel to take this girl to the Fireflies to procure a cure to this whole madness and this disease. And that's what the, you know, as goofy as it sounds to say, like, maybe it's a road trip show or game. I almost said movie. Because they encounter a lot of things along the way. Obviously, they live in a safe zone, which is, for all intents and purposes, I mean, probably living under martial law, and whoever's thumb you're under in this thing. Is it better or worse to be just kind of out in the wild on your own with all these infected around? Who really knows? But yeah, it. I will say it does give kind of a Walking Dead vibe where I'm like, don't get too attached to anyone else that they meet along the way, because they don't make it long. Like the two brothers with Henry and I don't remember the other brother's name. Shit. The two brothers, Bill in the show is a little different. I'm glad they actually fleshed him out more. In the game, he's not as you know, there's a history between him and Joel. Like they've probably had dealings in the past, trading supplies and whatnot. And there's a little hint to his friend Frank, who they find. Like Joel didn't know who he was, but in the show they flesh out that relationship a lot more, which I thought was really cool and worth a whole episode, because that shit made me emotional. I'm sure it made a lot of other people emotional. And other things that they added to the show, again, that I had a whole episode for, was the DLC, the extra little bit of a game from the first part, where they talk about Ellie's first girlfriend and how they got bit in the first place. And obviously Ellie made it out and her friend Riley did not, which sucks. So, yeah, and then you meet some cannibals along the way, you know, casually, as you do in an apocalypse, I guess. And as soon as they got to the cannibals, then of course in the show they made them like crazy religious zealot like cannibals. I'm like, as if it's not worse. Like, they're already cannibals. Like, now he's got to be like this religious nut job, like, and a pedophile. I'm like, great. Although I think that was kind of suggested in the game as well. So, but yeah. In the end, they get Joel and Ellie make it to a couple places where they think the Fireflies are, but of course they're not. You know, it's always like the princesses in another castle, right? You know, you go to a university where they're supposed to be in Colorado, and they don't find them there, but eventually they do. And somehow Marlene gets across the country after being like shot, but whatever, I'll let it go. And they find out that basically to do this operation, it grows in your brain, remember? So it's probably going to end up killing Ellie in the end. And you don't even still know if it's going to work or not, right? So the risk is, like, you don't know if you're actually going to get a cure out of this by cutting into her brain. And the punchline is she still dies. And of course, Joel, I'm jumping around, but like the opening scene in both still makes me cry. Like, this game gut punches you really hard in the beginning by showing Joel losing his daughter right at the start of the outbreak. So of course, that's again that callousness he has about letting people close, especially this little girl Ellie, who of course, by the end, that's why we did the lines there. It's like she tells him after all we've been through, it can't be for nothing. They've become really close at this point. And of course, now he's kind of become like a surrogate dad to her. And one of the funnest part of that game is just scar-facing that whole hospital. Just you're a one-man army just gunning through every one of these fireflies to get to Ellie and get her out. And so yeah, you gun down Marlene because she's the last person that stands in your way, of course. And he takes Ellie back to the settlement where he actually found his brother Tommy, who was still doing pretty well for himself. And he lies to Ellie in the end that when she wakes up from being in the hospital, and he tells her, it turns out there's other people that are immune. It's not just you. Like, there's dozens of people, in fact. So, basically they couldn't get a cure, but that's just kind of is what it is. And you can tell Ellie doesn't really believe him, but she kind of just, nods and agrees and goes along with it. And I think they ended them both the same way. It was just like they had a hike in the woods and she has to stop him and just tell me straight, like, swear to me that everything you told me about the fireflies and about me was true. And he still just tells her, yeah, I swear. And she just kind of shrugs and goes, okay. And that's where we're left off. I'm like, and that ever since 2013 has blown people's minds. It's been a hot button issue of like, was Joel right? Was he wrong? Like, I mean, that's the thing, is that like, you can have that argument either way. Like, was he right to do that, or should he have let it happen, or what? What would you have done? I'm like, I don't have kids, and I know people that do have kids have that argument. They're like, yeah, if that was your own, I mean, albeit that's like a surrogate daughter to him. I'm like, but you'd probably mow down a whole hospital of people to go get her back, if you got told basically she's gonna die. So I don't know.
Yeah, it does leave you with that great existential question of what would you have said to her at that moment? Would you have told her the truth and risked breaking her heart? Would you have because look, I mean, as a parent, I mean, I think every parent out there knows you give your kid little white lies. Santa Claus. there's the ones that are fairly innocent.
What about him?
I mean, yeah, there are. Yeah, what, you don't know? So sorry, BJ. Sorry, I'll leave that to you, BJ. But I'll let you have the conversation with him. But I mean, it's like little things. Why did your goldfish have to die? I mean, you say these things because you don't always know how someone who's young, especially someone who's a teenager, and the emotions are already kind of all over the place when you're a teenager anyway. In the most benign circumstances, let alone being in the zombie apocalypse, the emotions are already kind of a mess when you're a teenager. So, do you protect her from that drama, from that trauma? From that knowledge because of the potential damage that it could do to her? Or do you try to trust her with the truth? That's the existential question it leaves you with. There's no right or wrong answer. It really just does leave you conflicted internally. But yeah, that's a solid breakdown of everything that kind of went on in the first season. Now let's get to some of the things that are coming now that we're going to be getting here in about 24 hours when this episode drops. Let's first talk about some of the cast. Let's see. I do have this is from our friends over at Screen Rant. Let's talk a little bit about the cast now. Obviously, there's a lot of people returning, a lot of people coming into the fray. We'll go over some of the people returning first. Obviously, Pedro Pascal is Joel Miller. We knew he was going to be back. This wouldn't be a show without him to begin with. I'm glad he's coming back. Any quick thoughts on his return? I mean, it's just kind of obvious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of your two main lead characters in this show. So I'm happy he's back. And I know the elephant is in the room right now. And I'm like, if you know, I'm like, but I'm just saying he's still going to be there. Even if he's not, just, you can have flashbacks and stuff. So I'm happy about it. I'm curious to see what they do with that. Which we'll get
then obviously Bella Ramsey also returning as Ellie. These are the two primary characters this whole thing surrounded around. I think she's been fantastic in the role so far. Any thoughts on her returning? again, kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. Obviously, again, would be Last of Us without Ellie as well. I my initial thought on her when I first saw her in the season one, I was kind of like, why do you look like you're 6 years old? I'm like, I'm like, it's unfortunate. I'm sorry, but like, I have like a baby face too. But I was also like, you don't strike. Maybe I'm like, if I cross the threshold where I'm like old, where I like see a teenager and I'm like, you look like an actual child to me. But like when you're 15, you see someone who's my age, who's like 30, like, oh god, you're old. You know what I mean? Is that
Yeah.
have I crossed the bridge now? I don't know. I'm gonna sit up straight. My back hurts. No, but
I was just about to say 40 is not that far away, kid.
No, I know. Oh, we're halfway there. So no, but my point was that she did play the part well. So I mean, regardless of what she looked like, I was just kind of like, I don't know if I believe you're actually 14. She's supposed to be 14 in the first one, and it takes place over a year, so 14 to 15. But as for the character herself, like, yeah, she nailed it. And I think when that episode came through, Ashley Johnson herself, again, who voiced Ellie, the first time she met her, she was like, that's her. That's Ellie. I nothing else to say. I'm like, well, you heard it from the horse's mouth. So well done. And honestly, two brings a lot more of Ellie. And I hope that's what we see. Like, there's going to be a bigger focus on her, which, again, I think she's got it. So
yeah, I think she's been fantastic in the role. I mean, she's I think in this season she's gonna be like 19, 20, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm. It's 5 years after the first one.
Yeah, she still looks like she's about 14, 15. But I mean, I kind of get it. I mean, there needs to be this mad age disparity between her and Joel because
you just change her hair up and just kind of.
But yeah, I think she's been fantastic in the role. I have no complaints on her at all. Let's see. Somebody else coming back. Obviously, Gabriel Luna is Tommy. I'm very happy he's going to return. I'm hoping to see more of him this year. I really, really want to see more of the brother dynamic between him and Joel. I just want to see more Gabriel Luna because I think he's actually a very good actor. Any quick thoughts on him coming back?
I think you will get more of Tommy. Again, Tommy plays a little bit bigger part in 2 as well. So he's again in the first game. He's just there to. You see that settlement that kind of lays the groundwork of like, oh, we reconnected with our brother and now we have a place to stay because he has this whole settlement that him and his wife are running. I don't remember if it's the same in the show or not, but in the game, it's like they have a hydroelectric dam is what powers their town. It's like right next to it. And they upkeep that and they upkeep the town. And that's how they have electricity. They're able to do crops. They're able to do all this stuff to survive. So yeah, that's kind of what Tommy's thing is for. And I think we'll get more of him, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, new addition, big one. Someone who's going to be significant to the story is Caitlin D versus Abby. Jay, give us a little bit of. I guess we can go into spoilers because anybody who watches the game and is really into knowing this is going to know. If you don't want spoilers, you might want to turn away for this one because we're going to get into some shit here. What do you think about Caitlin Dever coming in as Abby and just having the character Abby in here? It's going to be a huge plot point for season 2.
Yeah, I can kind of give a minor spoiler without giving a big one away. But if you already know, you already know. So Abby is the daughter of the doctor, the head surgeon that Joel kills at the end of the first game, who was going to perform the operation on Ellie. So obviously Abby's had this traumatic event happen to her where she comes in and finds the hospital just laid to waste. She comes in afterward. Like there's flashes back to like, she's in the hospital and the alarms are still going off. She goes to find her dad and she finds him dead in the operating room. So that, that'll do a number to you too as well. Cause I'm trying to remember how old she's supposed to be. She might be in her like late 20s, maybe 30, might be pushing it. But I know I think it says like their date of birth there, which is kind of interesting. So I would think that's about right age wise. Now, my only thing is that, like, Abby's, like, kind of the, she is a part of you saw it in the trailer, there's the Wolves now, part of this kind of, like, military group that's out there in Washington, up in Seattle, where part of this game takes place. And, of course, she's, like, roided out like a linebacker to hell and back. And I'm like, and this is just some little teenage girl. I'm like, I don't really believe that. Now, while it makes a little more sense, because like Abby's an imposing figure, compared to Ellie. Ellie in the game has gotten a little older, but she's still like a smaller character than Abby is. So I think it's kind of nice they level the playing field because I'm like, I can see these two actually coming to blows with each other, which is going to happen. But I don't know. I think she can pull this vengeful this vengeful path she's on, which is a big that's a big plot point in this game is revenge from Ellie's side and from Abby. So
yeah, I'm really interested to see how this character develops because they did so good with character development in the first season. Like this character is going to be broken and driven by revenge. She's going to be a lot like Joel, but I think it's going to be seated more. I think she's going to be more relentless than Joel, which is going to be interesting. I'm also interested to see how Joel's character changes because it's been, like I said, it's been 5 years from the end of the first season to where the season picks up. Joel is going to have to go through, the story is going to make it happen, whether he wants to or not. He's going to. We expect him to experience some growth in this time between the end of the first season and this season. So is he kind of falling back into dad mode? He's in a place that's more comfortable being in Montana with his brother. He's able to live kind of more of a dad, less stressful life than he was living when we first met him. When he was in Philadelphia or wherever the hell he's at when the first season started. So it's going to be interesting to see how his character has changed over this 5 years and how he's going to react to this girl, Caitlin, who is kind of in his position when this one starts, is that anybody, she's driven, she's spiteful, she's broken, much the same way he was. And I think that's going to make for a very interesting character dynamic. What's that?
Oh, well, I was going to say, and if you can tell from even just the trailer, it ends with Ellie looking at Joel, and you can tell she's upset. And she just says, like, "You swore to me." It's like she's gonna find out. It's like that has been on her mind for these past 5 years, and her and Joel still have this like kind of strained relationship a little bit because of it, and that is gonna come to light, which really sucks because hearing that truth after all that time is really gonna suck. So that's what they're both gonna be wrestling with. This is. Brewing with Abby.
Yeah, but moving on to some other new cast members. Isabella Merced as Dina. Dina's going to be an interesting character. It's going to be very important to Ellie as kind of a love interest for her. It's going to be interesting to see her kind of deal with some of these more grown-up emotions and situations while she's also dealing with the zombie apocalypse and whatever else comes along, the eventual loss of her father figure. Spoiler alert. Won't say who, but the crazy things that we expect to see in this season. What do you think about the addition of Isabella Merced and her character she's going to be playing?
Again, another pretty integral character to part 2. I think they nailed this casting on the head. I mean, she looks pretty close to Dina. I'm wondering if it is the same because I had my Leonardo DiCaprio moment in season 1 when they first get to Tommy's settlement. And you see some girl kind of like peeking behind the pole, like looking at Ellie. She looks at her and goes like, "What? What are you looking at?" And she like scares her and she runs off. I was like, that looked like Dina. Better be nice to her. You're gonna get to bumping uglies in like 5 years. So, for lack of a better term. No, I think that's pretty cool. I wonder if that was her, and if that is, that's a cool kind of cameo setup. She's again now Ellie has a love interest. So as you know, in an apocalypse, that's probably either a blessing or a curse. And if anyone wants a minor spoiler, Dina's got a little one in her tum tum.
Uh-oh. I didn't need a spoiler alert thing.
I'm like, that's all I'll say. I mean, I'll leave that one there. So there was something in the trailer I saw, and I had to point this out because Dina's on the screen real quick. You see a clicker like in kind of engulfed in the foliage and shit, and you see it open its mouth, and a breath of something comes out, and I was like, are we doing spores like you should have done in season 1? But okay, hey, because
you don't want to blow your load all in one season. You want to save some of the stuff for build up for whatever the climax of the series is going to be. So,
it was already in season 1 or game 1 though, so I'm like, that was a pretty integral part to it as well. So I don't know why they left it out. to then have to backtrack it and now put it in 2. I'm like, well, yes, because there is a poignant scene in 2 between Dina and Ellie. I don't think Dina knows that Ellie's immune because remember Joel said like, don't tell anybody that, because that's not something you want to have get out.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't know, and there's a point she obviously goes through the motion. She still wears a respirator when there's spores, even though it doesn't matter to Ellie. But her and Dina are kind of pinned down, and her as in Ellie, her mask breaks, and Dina sees it and freaks the fuck out. She's like, "Oh shit!" Because she knows, oh crap, she's gonna die. So she goes to like pull her mask off in a sacrificial, thing to do for your loved one. She tries to pull her mask off to like save Ellie instead, and she's like, "No, like stop! Like it's gonna be fine." Like it's like, oh shit, she doesn't know, and it's like I can't just give that away, because Dina takes that shit off and she's gonna die, and it's gonna be like, well, for what? Because I didn't tell her that. Yeah. So, yeah. Other than guess what? She's pregnant. I'll leave that there. So, that'll become a plot point, I'm sure.
You don't have to be a detective to figure out what some people are putting in the chat. Text, of course, pops in and says, "Fort." Followed by Derpy Entertainment says, "Anyone ready to head out for a swing tomorrow? Rather it be at the Masters or the video game?" Yeah, from what I saw, the Masters is pretty much over. Isn't somebody up by, no, not up by 14 strokes, but somebody's got like is negative 14 under par going into the final round. And Derpy also says, "I guarantee it'll end on the what the fuck moment." Well, yeah, I imagine it will. As far as how it will end, I don't know. Stick around. We'll talk about our bold predictions for what will come this season, and we'll see how many of that stuff ends up being true over the course of the next several weeks. But we'll give you our bold predictions later on. Tex also says Isabella Merced is also playing Cat Grant in the new Superman film. Interesting enough. I mean, we'll see Superman here in a couple of months, so. We'll find out if she's any good in that or not, or if the movie's any good or not. So, subscribe and all that stuff for our Superman review coming up when that movie drops in July. But let's move on to the next edition. There's a couple of editions that are interesting. Obviously, young Mazzino is playing Jesse. I don't know who the hell this person is. I've heard the name, don't really know. Talk to me, Jeremy, a little bit about who Jesse is in the game and what he plays in this whole drama.
I'm sorry. I was like, should I pull out part 2? Sorry, I got again of the many copies of these games I have. I mean, because I have a problem. Well, I guess if you want the spoiler, do you want to take a wild guess who got Dina pregnant?
Well, I mean, it's made pretty clear in all the marketing that she is the ex-boyfriend of Dina. So, I mean. Again, like I said, putting 2 and 2 together.
Well, yes. So Jesse and Dina were a thing. And obviously now her and Ellie are a thing. So that's kind of they're still friends. Jesse's still one of their friends that lives in the little commune that Tommy has. Not really a whole lot more to that than to that. Like I said, he's the father of this kid. So it kind of makes an awkward, not a love triangle, but like a former love triangle or something, So, yeah, they're gonna be dealing with that. He doesn't have a whole lot to do in the game, but he's there because he goes out when you go out with Ellie and Dina. There's a scene or there's a place they hunker down inside of a old theater. And he goes, obviously, because he kind of obviously feels a little responsible for taking care of her. But it's obviously like, well, Ellie can take care of Dina as well. And they can, handle this on their own. He's kind of just like an awkward third wheel sometimes. But poor guy, he's just trying to be there, That's really the biggest thing with Jesse.
See, again, a couple more big additions coming up. These ones don't have pictures coming with them, but you've got Rutina Wesley. I think she's returning as Maria from the first season. Danny Ramirez, I think, is also returning from the first season. He's most known by people as playing Joaquin Torres, playing the new Falcon in the MCU, and also he had a role in Top Gun Maverick. Let's see, Ariella Bearer as Mel. I do not remember her from the first season.
I think Mel. Hold on. I think we might be getting into new characters and a new wait. Mel, I believe, if I'm in my head, I'm seeing her. I think she's one of Abby's group.
Okay.
She has like a short, like pixie haircut. She works at. Hold on, let me see. Yeah. That's what I thought it was. Yeah, she's one of Abby's group. She's at the aquarium, which is another like base of operations for like Abby's group. And I don't know Owen. I think Owen is right down there. Spencer Lord. Owen, I think, is like a former love interest of Abby's. Again, who also kind of tags along with her. I believe that's who that is. Gail, Isaac. I'm trying to remember who these people are. I see Eugene, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not Walking Dead. It's not that guy.
Well, again, we're getting into the characters that don't have a whole lot of presence in the game, but are being given bigger presences in the book. Starting, of course, with Catherine O'Hara, screen legend, one of the Hall of Fame actresses, as like Gail. Give us a little bit about who the Gail character is in the game.
I'm wondering if we're getting into the Seraphites, who is different. The Seraphites and the Wolves, Abby's group, are in like clash with each other. So I'm trying to remember who is exactly who. I don't believe Gail is one of them. Let's see. I know she's in the HBO show. Shut up. Is yeah. What it did. Oh, I think I know who this might be. She might be the leader of the Seraphites, now that I think about it. No, Jackson. I'm stupid. Jackson. So she's with Tommy's group. Yeah, Eugene's her husband. Oh, a therapist to Joel. Okay, I thought it was... Okay, not who I was thinking of. Well, that'll be interesting. I mean, Joel's been through some shit, and I don't think there's been any therapist that you can go to in the last 25 years. So,
at least not one easily attainable. Yeah,
yeah. As we know from Walking Dead, anyone who has a medical degree of any fucking kind is gonna die. So, but hopefully not Catherine O'Hara. I think she'll be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if she ends up being a good guy or a bad guy. Again, I know nothing about Last of Us 2, the game, so anything that any guidance you give me on what these characters might be, I'm just going to take your word for it. And then, of course, Jeffrey Wright's going to be coming into playing Isaac Dixon, somebody who was in the second game. Jeffrey Wright is an actor who I love. I mean, he's awesome at everything that he's in, whether he's actually trying or not. Who is this character? Who is Isaac Dixon, and what kind of role does he play in the second game?
If I can stop looking up on YouTube and get into Google. Good Lord. Right. That's what I thought. So he's... Because I'm remembering the character there on the right. Obviously, he's from the video game. He's a former U.S. Marine who's the leader of the Wolves. Again, Abby's group. So he's kind of the big guy in charge. And like I said, they're in kind of a war that, like, it's like one of those, like, you've been fighting for so long, it's like, do you even really know what you're fighting about anymore, or what was even the point in the first place, right? So that's kind of what it's just like. They know, hey, that's your enemy, you kill him, that's it, so being a former Marine, I mean, he's a pretty hard-headed character, and that's a thing for Abby. I don't know if we've gotten down to the Seraphites yet, but she comes across these two young kids who are part of it, and Abby has this realization that it's like, why are we fighting these people? These are kids. Like, what, she has like this epiphanous moment where it's like, why are we even doing this? She's like she's been so brainwashed into that too, where she's like, I don't even know what the hell we're fighting about anymore, So yeah, he's gonna be the leader of the Washington Liberation Front, if anyone didn't know what WOLF stands for. So that's their whole thing.
And then, of course, they're adding one of my favorite actors, Joey Pantoliano. Joey Pants, as I've heard some people call him. He's playing a character that did not have a huge presence in the game, as in, I think his picture was in the game, as I've read. But they're gonna flesh him out and make him a more important character, at least in this season. What do you think of the addition of Eugene as a character?
Eugene is Catherine O'Hara's husband.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, like, Eugene, does he have a mullet? Is he a nerd? Last of Us. Man. Yeah, I don't know. See, I'm like, if you do flesh some of these characters out a little more, like I said, they did that with Bill and Frank in the first game, and I was like, that was a beautifully made episode and a beautiful fucking story to tell. So I'm kind of wondering what his angle is. I'm seeing more. Okay, he served in the Fireflies along with Tommy, Joel's brother. So, and he has a close friendship with Dina. I wonder if that's who. Oh man, I wonder if he's the one who. Because obviously they got to introduce Ellie and Dina as a couple, and there's of course, it's always that like bigoted asshole who has to have a fucking problem with the two of them. And I think, God, was he the one who like stopped? Because I know Ellie was obviously like, dude, I'll kill you right here. Like, leave us the fuck alone, right? I don't think he was the one that did that, but obviously Joel again stepped in too. And when you piece it together, it's like Ellie even kind of gives Joel the cold shoulder, like, dude, I can fucking take care of myself, like, you know. Because again, she's still reeling from the fact that Joel lied to her. So it's hard being a dad out here in the apocalypse, just trying to do the right thing for your daughter and let her and her girlfriend have a fucking nice time at the community dance get together they were doing. But you know,
yeah, no doubt. You know, the most recent trailer that has come out. Let's see, I've got this one here from our friends over at Screen Culture. Hopefully, they won't mind me borrowing their video for a minute. What the hell? I'm not getting this from Max. Let's see. Let me bring this up real quick. I'm thinking about it. Okay, that can go away. And I will bring up now this trailer from Last of Us Season 2. Let's watch this trailer real quick. And Jeremy, give me some of your thoughts on the craziness that we're going to see, and what things out of this last trailer will probably surprise you. Let's go ahead and watch this. It's about 1 minute and 52 seconds.
Okay.
Changed since that day, but I realized there's no turning back now.
What did you do?
With everything she went through, I thought I was giving her a second chance.
She sees you as a father, but there's something you're afraid to tell her. What is it you don't want to tell her?
I saved her.
But of what?
From them.
By the time the sun comes up tomorrow, there's a very good chance you'll be dead.
You're gonna lose.
Don't you know what he did? It doesn't matter if you have a code like me. You swore. There are just some things everyone agrees are just wrong. Save who you can save.
You know, and there's that.
And we just got copyrighted.
That's fine. Whatever. I don't care. Like I said, to hell with YouTube. I don't want their money anyway. But you know, there's the trailer. That's the most recent one that came out a couple of days ago. I don't imagine we're going to see one in the next 24 hours that gives us too much more. Give me your thoughts on that trailer. Does it give you any ideas to what major plot points from the second game might make their way into this season on screen?
Well, there's little things that, like, even just in a transition scene that I'm like, oh, I know what that is. And to anyone who doesn't know, you know, it's like a cool visual. Like, the shot when they're in that museum, you see the space capsule. It's what that was, overgrown, but it's a space capsule. That was a whole scene. It was a flashback to sometime in his past 5 years that Ellie, it was Ellie's birthday, and Joel took her out for her birthday, and they had this whole scene in the in this museum. They're just having fun. They're just having a good time. Like, she puts a hat on a dinosaur because she thought it was funny. I don't know. She's a kid, you know. She just thought it was goofy. And the thing, if you've heard there's a line in the game, and it's been it's well known in the games that like Ellie wants to be an astronaut when she grows up. When she grows up. So obviously, it's like that's a nice dream to have. Obviously, it's like even for someone in our world that hasn't been ravaged by clickers, that's still a pretty big feat. But it's like that's just her dream, and Joel's was to be a singer, which the joke is, I mean, I think they just asked one day, Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson just real quick asked each other. That was real. Like, oh, what'd you want to be? He's like, oh, I want to be a singer. And she just flat out said astronaut, And they ran with that with their characters, which was pretty cool. So it's ingrained into the two of them as well as their characters. But so what he does for her is takes her to this capsule, and he went through all the trouble of making a cassette tape that has an entire like launch sequence to it, like the countdown, the engine's firing out, like, and she has this whole immersive moment, like where you start to see on the outside where it's like she closes her eyes and she's imagining herself going into space, which is really cool. So that I'm kind of interested to see these and these other flashbacks, like where you see them walking through the woods, and obviously one of those moments where she, finally confronts Joel about like, what happened, and the more, oh god, that's a fucking tense scene. Yeah, that where she gets mad at him. So seeing Catherine O'Hara, that might be a good way to lay that groundwork of like, now we're trying to get into Joel's mind of like, because he still gets up and he says like, I saved her. Like that's him telling himself like, I still did the right thing. It's like whether he believes it or not. So I hope we kind of explore that a little bit more. That might go in tandem with the fact that she was lied to for all that time, and he's still, like we've said, like that point of debate about what happened at the end. That's just been plaguing him this whole time. The scene with the red light that's pooled over both of them. Oh god, that's a pretty brutal scene too in the game, where that girl, like, she's looking up at Ellie. She's like, you don't even know what he did, And that's why I think that, again, the spores are an important part to this story, because that girl on the ground that Ellie's standing over obviously is not immune, and Ellie is, and she's still like looking at her like, how the hell, like, why aren't you dead? And she doesn't even care, because Ellie is on this like one-minded revenge track, and then she just absolutely like beats that girl's head in and kills her. So that one didn't have that scene of the spores coming out, but I mean, I saw that and I'm just still, I don't know, it's a weird thing to backtrack on, but nothing too wild. I think in the other trailer, I think the thing that I didn't see last time in the game was that I remember is that Tommy and Maria had their kid. I think that's who's on Joel's lap, and he's sitting and pointing at the map and saying like, what's this? Like, oh, that's the wall. What's inside of it? And he's like, the people, and he's like, what's outside? He's like, the monsters. I'm like, that's going to be real sweet. It'd be a shame if something ever happened to Joel where he can't have moments with his little nephew anymore. So, they might explore some more relationships in this second season, which will be cool to see.
Yeah, I kind of dig that it looks like this is going to be a good balance from the trailer. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a good balance of the emotional story stuff as well as some of the action stuff. We were doing the breakdowns of season 1 with American Werewolf in New Jersey, and he kind of tapped out of the show because it wasn't action enough. And I was like, well, I kind of get it.
Not the point.
I get it. I understand that that's not really the point. That there's a lot of things to this series that are. It's more than just action. It's more than just zombies running around and trying to eat all the people running away and doing crazy.
There's an emotional story there.
There is deep character building in this. So while I understood his kind of problem with it, I do really like the way that they've put this together. Because remember, this is made by the same people that made Chernobyl. And Chernobyl could have been all about the The explosion. They could have made it all about the special effects and all that. But that show, if you've watched that, which I've watched now through about 4 or 5 times, that show's got a lot of great character building. It tells the story of these people. It makes it a very personal story. So yes, you've got that great moment in the first episode where, the lid pops off the nuclear reactor during the explosion. And it's a very kind of chaotic, very cool special effects moment. But that's just one moment that kind of sucks you in. The rest of it is all about the outcome, the characters dealing with the aftermath. It is a lot of great character work by a lot of really fantastic actors, and that's what Mazin has done with this show. He's done the same thing. He has these moments where, especially in the part of the trailer where you see all the explosions, and guys are trying
all the
this actiony stuff where
that shot right there, that clicker in the snow is a horrifying image, and I love it. That is
terrifying. Yeah, there's great images here that are going to be very actiony and very cool, and that's going to be awesome, but that's not going to be what drives this thing. What's going to drive this thing is going to be continual character work, which is really, really cool. So I'm actually really excited about what this show is going to bring as far as the mixture of both action and great character work, great dialogue. But let's get into some of the predictions now. I mean, Jeremy, you know the game far better than I. I played the first one, here and there. I did not play anything after that. You have played these games through each of them.
I've
probably
got 2 on PS4 if you want to borrow it.
Yeah,
you really want to try. There you go.
You've played through the games a couple of times each now, probably. I mean, what are some of your expectations? Again, this isn't going to be like a 1-for-1. They're going to adapt the second game into the second season. So, what do you think this season is going to look like? How much of the second game is going to make it into the second season? And do you expect them to be very true, or what kind of artistic liberties do you expect them to take?
I think it's going to be mostly, yeah, my mom knows what's up. That is a sound that it still gives me chills, and I hate it. Like, hearing it, there was a guy who was at a con dressed up as a clicker, and he was like doing this and like twitching and like moving around and doing the noise. Very well done cosplay. And he kind of freaked me out. Like, it was just unnerving to see because he did it so well. And in the game, that is a dreadful. Like, you hear it, you start hearing it, and you're like, "Oh my god!" You and now you're like, "Okay, very, very lightly go forward." You step on a piece of glass, and they turn and fucking bite your goddamn neck out. It's unnerving. Because it probably feels like that scene there where we saw Abby, like, because that's part of the beginning is Abby going through the snow there, and those infected are all just pushing on that fence. And they push it so far down that she's having to crawl like on her stomach through the snow, and they're trying to like still get at her. It's like, God, that's what it feels like sometimes. I expect it, like I said, to be pretty faithful as it was in the first season with the first game. It was, like I said, it was pretty well the same, where I could, like, I knew things were coming. Like when I think Henry, it's killing me. I think Henry was the Sam. Sam was his little brother. That's right. Henry was the older brother. Like when what's her face comes out to try and kill him, the leader of that group. I don't remember her name because she kind of annoyed me. But she comes out. She tells him to come out with his hands up, and he just comes out around the car like this. And I was like, he's not gonna die like that. That'd be kind of dumb, And if you know how he dies, unfortunately, they did do that. So I expect them to keep it pretty similar. And like I said, the thing with like Catherine O'Hara, it's like I expect to see more of like characters that we didn't really get to flesh out. Like I said with Frank and Bill. So seeing that get laid out will be pretty cool. And like I said with the Seraphites, if you saw the two people in that trailer that were the bald headed and had like the capes and like hooded cloaks on, that's going to be an interesting thing to see as well. Because like I said, that's a weird turning point for Abby, because like I said, she's on her revenge streak, same as Ellie. And then like I said, they're going to start butting heads, which I think will definitely be the point of the season. But the thing that kind of like turns Abby around, like I said, is her finding this kid that was a part of that group who, it's like he defected, but also he kind of got kicked out. So yeah, what you gonna do? And they end up helping each other out in the end. I think they end up running off together by the end of the game, kind of in a Joel and Ellie type of, they kind of look out for one another. So It's kind of cool. And it sucks because like Abby's kind of getting level headed again, and then of course now, and the thing I think that they'll still put in there is at the end. Like I said, you'll see more Tommy because obviously Tommy lost his brother. You know, Ellie didn't just lose an adoptive dad. Like Tommy lost his fucking brother. So Tommy's kind of getting this like, you know, revenge spree in his blood as well. And he comes back to Ellie with like a map saying like, oh, I've been trying to figure it out. And like, I think I know where we could go find her. Ellie and Dina have like moved on to a nice little farmhouse. They're trying to live their life and just do their thing. And Tommy's still coming in here with this talks of revenge. And Dina, it sucks because Dina's the one who's the level-headed one. And after Ellie's already been through this whole thing with Abby, she tells her, like, just let it go. Like, I know this is the whole point, is this, like, revenge is not going to bring back someone you love. It's not going to make you feel better. That's the whole point. And she fucking tells Ellie, like, if you go, I'm not going to be here when you come back. Kind of leaves her with the ultimatum there, and kind of is like, Tommy, you need to go. Like, you can do whatever you want, but you need to get out of here and quit. You know, we're trying to live our life. Of course, Ellie's dumb, and she has to just fucking go one more time.
Emotional
she can't
teenager.
Let it go. I know, like she can't let it go, and she ends up again finding Abby, and Abby's not in a fucking good place because the people that she like I said, the group that's after her, the Seraphites, find her. And if anyone's played Fallout New Vegas, if you know what Caesar's Legion does to people, there was that one guy a long time ago with a beard and a long hair could walk on water. You know, they do that kind of thing. So they come to blows, but it still just doesn't. There's that scene, if everyone's ever seen the meme, like of Ellie just sitting in like the water on the edge of the beach or by herself, beaten and bloodied and bruised, all to shit and back. And it's like, yeah, you still don't feel better, do you? So the game ends. She does make the long trek back home, and guess what? The house is empty. And that's where it ends. I'm like, what's she supposed to do now? Is she supposed to go back to Jackson where Tommy is? Is she like, what? Her girlfriend's gone. And also, fuck part 2 for making me cry over a watch. She pulls a box out and it's got Joel's gun, and then she pulls out his watch, and it's like it kind of zooms in on the watch, and I'm like, God damn it! Why am I crying over a watch right now? Fuck, it still hurts. So I think she takes like Joel's gun. I think the guitar was still there, which we saw. He teaches her how to play guitar. Yeah, and it just ends with her being at the farmhouse, and then that's it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Your girl, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how, just like logistically, story-wise, how they're going to put all this together, because there was a lot of thought that a third game was going to come out at some point in the next year, 18 months. That ended up becoming not a thing. They've decided that, Last of Us 3 is not going to come out in video game form, at least not in time for this. They've put the kibosh on it for now. So then they decided we're going to split game 2 up into 2 seasons. Of course, it's been renewed for a third season already before this happened in the last week or so. So splitting the second game up into 2 seasons, I don't know how that's going to work, because obviously there's a big happening in this one. We'll spoil it here in a minute. But I'm interested to see how they kind of structure the story, television storytelling wise, as opposed to the video game, because you can't necessarily run right to that. At least I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Now let's I guess now's the time. Again, if you're sensitive to spoilers, if you haven't played the game, if you've managed to not hear what happens in the second game, I'm going to spoil something very big for you now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe you take a break from the rest of the stream and move on to something else. Go watch one of the guys in the description below. But Joel does die in the second game. Eventually, what's her name?
Abby.
Abby. Eventually, Abby finds him. She dispatches him in a way that's gonna, I'm sure, look awesome on television. I'm sure the video game was probably brutal. violent enough. But so my question is how are they gonna make this happen? I mean, I'll get into my bold prediction about how this is gonna happen maybe later on. But I mean, I'm interested to see how they do this, because I mean, there's ways to kill off big characters that will not also kill your show. Because I watched the Following, that Kevin Bacon show that was on a couple of years ago. First season, phenomenal. So it was one of the best seasons of any kind of drama I've ever seen. And then second season early on, they kill like the bad guy. And I'm like, you just completely fucked up the chemistry of the show. And from then on out, that show was just not nearly as good. And the show ended up getting canceled. And I was like, and they tried to kind of bring him back as a ghost. Kevin Bacon's conscience. Whatever they did didn't work. That show suffered very, very badly because of it. And what was a great show turned into something that was not so great. I don't know that will happen with Last of Us, but you have to admit there's a narrative danger, especially when you've got someone who's as popular as an actor as Pedro Pascal, a character that is so wildly popular in the fandom, not just the television show, certainly the video game. And maybe the people in the video game would be a little more forgiving because they kind of know what's happening. But the casual fans who are not that into the video game and are really into the show, that might suffer with them. I mean, how does this work is my question. I mean, I know how I would do it, but I don't necessarily know that would be the right way. I don't know. Jeremy, give me let's get into your bold predictions now. What episode do you think this happens in? First half of the season, last half of the season, very last minute, first 5 minutes of the series of the show? I mean, how would you do this?
See, because the way the first game opened, it's already, like I said, a horrifying thing to go through. Joel losing his daughter right at the start of this apocalypse and on his birthday. Like, that is shitty. That sucks, man. So that's the gut punch they led with. And I was like, damn, this is going to be an emotional story, man. And then, like I said, it cut the blacks. So 20 years later, boom, Joel wakes up and you go right into the game. So I'm like, with 2, I'm like, you still kind of follow that same formula of like, I think you start at, I know, put my head on a post. I've only played 2 once. Okay. Hear me out. But I believe you play as Abby first. You're seeing this character and you're like, who is this? What's her whole, like, you don't know. So I was like, I don't know who this is. You see that thing where she's crawling, army crawling through the snow. That's what that is. Like, her and her group is camped out in this lodge outside of where they know Jackson is, where they know that Joel's at. And they kind of happenstance across him because obviously there's that big group of, I keep wanting to say walkers, Jesus Christ, of all the infected that come in. So they end up running into each other. And I think Abby's even like, oh crap, because they're like, oh hey, I'm Joel Miller, and hey, I'm Tommy Miller. My name's Ellie, And she's like, oh shit, well that was easy. Like, I was lucky I found you that quick. And then it does that turn where, so like, this didn't just happen in front of Ellie. Like, they held her down and like she had to watch from like 2 feet from her head Joel die right in front of her, and so did Tommy, because Tommy was there as well. So I'm like, if you want to open with that gut punch again, I'm like, I feel like you'd maybe do it in episode 1, but it's like, I don't know if you really want to blow that wad right in the beginning. Maybe have them get to that, like they meet, and it could like end, like maybe, you could have him saying like, oh hey, I'm Joel Miller, and you see her like, she has that like, oh shit moment, like looking dead in the eyes of the guy she's been after all this time, and just have her shake his hand and say, hey, I'm Abby, and doing that though, the reason why I'm like, he's still going to be there, because I'm like, the game does jump back and forth with timing. It goes back to flashbacks, like I said, when he took her out for her birthday, when he told her the truth, when there's been plenty of other scenes that we've seen. I'm like, it's not like he's going to be in the show for 5 minutes and that's it. So I think that's how you'd play it out. I would still do it early, but then because it's when you start realizing the timing of like seeing it happen, it's like, it was right before, like I said, Joel told Ellie what happened. And then you see the scene where they're outside on the porch of their house, or I think his house. He's sitting there just strumming a guitar on his porch, just enjoying his evening. Because Ellie keeps giving him the cold shoulder, but she finally comes to him and she's had time to process it and kind of goes like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm just, that's a lot I'm just overreacting. So they kind of, and it's just kind of what Joel wants to hear. He's like, kind of makes him feel a little better that she's starting to forgive him. And then you have the worst fucking day of your life. And also the last day of your fucking life. The next, that's what fucking hurts, because it's like they were just starting to get back to being cool with each other again, and that's what happens. So having that unravel, I think, is how you should do it.
Yeah, bold prediction. I'm going to give you my bold prediction now.
Okay.
I'm less and less convinced over the course of the last few days as some of the marketing I've seen that this is going to happen, but bold prediction. Joel doesn't die this season.
Could do that.
I feel like now, and this is the way I would do it again. What the hell do I know? I'm just some asshole talking on YouTube. But the way I see it is I'm not saying for the story, for the game, whatever. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm thinking purely on how do you make sure the casual fan doesn't switch off after he dies. The way you do it is that he lives through this season. Maybe this season ends on a cliffhanger where Abby finally has him where she wants him to take her revenge, and then it stops. And then the credits roll, some tense music. Maybe you get a quick look at Ellie as she's like looking at the scene unfolding, and she's scared of what she thinks it might be about to happen. And then in the first episode of the next season, that's when the hammer drops, so to speak, and that's when Joel dies, because that will draw these people back to the third season. I don't imagine this going past season 3, unless at some point in the next 18 months they come out with a third game and some stuff for them to draw on. I really don't see this going past season 3. I mean, it depends on what I see out of season 2. Maybe they introduce a bunch of new plot elements that they don't finish up that they could build on for season 4 if there ever was one. I don't know. I don't know the future, but I feel like that maybe we're very close to that moment at the end of this season, and then the next season, that's kind of where it starts. So maybe that's how it goes. That's my bold prediction. The odds of that happening, I would put somewhere around 10%. I just don't think that's how it's going to do it. I don't feel like it's how they're going to do it. I feel like they're going to do it this season, but the way I would do it is all these people that are the casual fans, the people that have not played the game like myself and so many others.
That's who you want to keep.
Those are the ones you really want to keep for the ratings. Also, I feel like, God, if you spend, because there's only, God, how many episodes are this? There's 9 episodes. There's going to be
how long?
7 episodes this year. 7 episodes.
Wow.
Two less than the first one. That's not a whole lot. So
now, are they longer? That's the thing.
Only 7 episodes. That's something, man. That's something.
Okay, because what I like when I played 2, I know, again, a lot of controversial stuff in this game. Like I said, with Joel dying in this game, and a controversial thing that they did after that. And like I said, the thing I was more mad about is I'm like, I feel like the structure of how this game was played, I'm like, there's a reason why so many people just did not like it. But I'm like, I feel like this story could have been better told through a show, or when this came out, we didn't have any inkling or any idea of this show happening in the first place. So I always said, I'm like, this would work better in like a show or movie if you made it that way. Because I'm like, you could do that because you're just watching this thing happen. Now, if you're playing a game, you're interacting. You were playing as this character. You're going with them on this journey, so to speak. You're living this out with them. What I think is going to happen, and when you told me that they were going to split into 2 seasons, I'm like, why are you dragging this out? Why are you dragging it out in this way? What I really hope doesn't happen is what happens in the game. So like I said, you play as Abby first, and you realize, oh, that's who that is. So that's how you introduce this new character. You're like, who is this? You're curious. And oh, she swung on Joel and killed him. And I'm like, wow, fuck this bitch. Fuck this bitch to the end of time. I don't care what the fuck you do. I don't care if you save an entire planet full of puppies and babies and anything else that's cute. No, you need to die in a fucking hole, buried in the ground, covered in concrete, and never see the light of fucking day again. I fucking hate you. I'm like, we're with Ellie. Because then you play as Ellie. I'm like, okay. I mean, that is the thing. I'm like, maybe you played me because I'm like, yeah, I want to get revenge on this bitch too. Like, screw you for coming in here and killing one of the most beloved characters, like you said, and one of our favorite characters of this duo of Joel. I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm gonna mow all these motherfuckers down as Ellie, and that's what you do. You, like I said, you see the whole thing with Dina, her and Jesse, and then they all go out. They get stuck in that theater because Dina's getting very pregnant. It's like, you probably shouldn't be out here because now we have a risk of you dying, but also a risk of you giving this child into the world. It's like, okay.
I wonder, does Dina get bit as she's giving birth? Do they do that again? What made Ellie kind of, immune to this whole thing being
no.
bit during childbirth or mother? Do they play that again? Because I would imagine we see the childbirth at some point this season. I don't know how this plays out in the game, but
I left that out when I said they went into the little farmhouse and they had their nice little life. They're doing it with the newborn, so they take the kid. They're going to raise him. They live on this farm by themselves. That is kind of what you think is like the ending epilogue there. So when I said that, I'm like, Dina says like I'm not going to be here. Yeah, she took the kid and got out of Dodge and left Ellie. So I'm like, yikes. But so then, now Ellie's still on her path by herself. Now she doesn't have Dina or Jesse to help, or Tommy even to help her out. And you get back to the theater, and Abby has now descended on this fucking theater, which again now has your pregnant girlfriend, your other best friend, and your surrogate dad's brother in it. And this bitch is coming to kill you. Because it's like, why did they leave her alive, right? Why would you leave Tommy and Ellie alive who witnessed this? Kind of dumb on Abby's part. I know she was like, well, I did what I needed to do. Like, they're not really a part of this. It's like, yeah, that's a loose end, Abby. You know what that does? It comes back to bite you. So they come to fucking punches in this, in this theater. And it's like, it's just about to go off. It's just about to go off. And then, boom. Game cuts to black. Then guess what it does? It rewinds like a week. Now, you have to spend the last back fucking half of this game playing as Abby. For the next however many fucking hours now. It cuts to black when the fucking shit was getting at its climax, when the two of these were gonna fucking come to blows with each other. And now you gotta play as Abby. Because now I'm supposed to fucking care about Abby. That's what I mean. No one cares. There's even jokes of people playing permadeath runs where they just run right into Ellie and they just let her keep dying because we hate her so much. I'm like, I don't want to play as this character. I don't care what you do. I don't care. Again, I don't care if you save a whole planet full of puppies. I don't like you. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to now tell me this whole last half of the game. I don't want to play. I don't want to do this. So I'm like, I don't want to interact as this character. So like I said, watching it happen is different. Me playing it, I'm just like, I just want to put the game down. I don't want to do this. It's so bad. This is how bad it is. There's a whole scene right before that where that red light is, Ellie's got that girl at gunpoint. That's in the aquarium. This dog comes barreling at you down the hallway, goes to jump and bite you, and boom, you shotgun it. And she's like, fucking stupid dog. I'm like, yeah, well, don't attack me. Didn't think anything of it. But, now I'm supposed to know that, that was Abby's dog. He was just a good boy. He was just and I was like, fuck that dog. I don't. That's how bad it is. I even said, I don't care. I don't care about Abby's dog. I really don't. I'm glad I shot him in the fucking face. I'm sorry. It's that bad. So what I hope doesn't happen is you get to that climax, and that's going to be the end of this season 2, is when the two of them meet each other in the theater, and it stops. And then we do that back half in season 3 where we already showed the Seraphites, but like I said, the after of now, what did Abby do? What was Abby's whole role in the Wolves? How was she in this war with this tribe of people? How did she get where she's at? And then how did she come around to this, this kid that she kind of takes under her wing? And then you're going to have Ellie coming back again with round 2. So I hope that's not what happens, but because I feel like season 3 is going to just be all about her, and then Ellie's just going to kind of come in at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, BJ's kind of on my side, so that's what she thinks. They need to leave Joel for us. Well, I mean, it's his character. Look, his character dying is a fitting ending for the character. To me, it's just all about timing. I mean, not so much timing in the story, timing in the
structure of how you do it.
So that way you make sure you're not going to, shut off half your viewers. Tech says that Frank wants to pull a hooded Negan kill. You know what? Go check the records go check the viewership for those episodes of Walking Dead. I guarantee you're going to see a steady increase. Whereas usually at this point in the series, things start to tail off a little bit. You're going to see an increase in ratings for that. So yeah, I think
people stop watching the show because I'm like, did you never read the comic? That's literally what happens. So I don't know why you're so mad.
Well, a lot of people haven't. I mean, look at how many people are fans of the MCU who've never picked up a comic book. As far as they
know, be nerds like us, I guess.
Yeah, the only MCU knowledge they have is what's been shown by Kevin Feige. That's all they know. So they go back to a comic book. They're like, oh, wait a minute. Tony Stark at one point became Doctor Doom. It blows their mind because they just don't know. But
Actually,
But
he
yeah,
becomes a god.
he
So
does eventually, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, do I want to? Who did Negan kill? I mean, yeah. Like I said, I think that'd be an interesting way for this season to end. Like they're in that moment. You know, Joel is down on his knees, ready to be finished off, and then Abby comes in with the thing, and then right as she takes a swing, cut to black, credits. See you in season 3. I'd be
Yeah.
like, damn. Now then again, I could see where that kind of ending would also piss a lot of people off, because for all that kind of build up not to see the moment, and then to know you're gonna have to wait 18 months for that payoff, I would probably be a little mad too. So I kind of get it, but you know. But you know, and to be absolutely honest, I don't imagine, like, if Pedro Pascal dies in episode 3 of this season, which is a possibility, he could die at any point. If Pedro Pascal dies in episode 3, I would imagine there's going to be some flashbacks for Ellie. There's going to be for Elle. There's going to be I mean, because he is an important person to a lot of characters in this. Elle, his brother, and stuff like that. So I would imagine that there's going to be flashbacks or some memories of conversations that are going to get these people through to whatever the end game is for the series. So so death does not necessarily mean he's not going to be on camera again ever again, but that's just me. It's possible. But I don't know, Jeremy, let me get your prediction. If it happens this year, what episode do you think it happens is? 7 episodes. It could happen at any point. What episode do you think this finally happens?
If it was going to happen in this one, I think I agree with you. It's either going to be 2 or 3. I don't think you'd want to open with that in episode 1. I think you want to lay that groundwork of, okay, where is everybody at right now? What's the motivations here of, like, who's Abby? What's her whole deal? Where's everybody at right now? Like 5 years later, in this community of Jackson. So you kind of want to lay that groundwork of getting everybody back into the world and seeing where they're at. You probably want to establish Ellie and Dina, and like I said, Jesse as well. Like I said, I still feel like you want to end with them meeting at the end of the first episode, like Abby just coming across Joel. And it's like, if you want to do it in 2, yeah, maybe do it then, maybe 3, like maybe kind of wait, because you still have to have Ellie go on her killing spree. So early, but not like.
I don't think early. I think that they want to. I mean, because obviously a lot of people, even people who aren't, even people who aren't very familiar with the game already kind of know. I mean, because the internet's a thing now, so it's really hard to avoid spoilers the way it once was when I was young. But I still think that it's not something that's going to happen too fast. Now, in my mind's eye, how would I put this together? I would probably begin episode 1 at that moment, and she says some things to Joel. Ellie's there, and right as she's going back to drop that fatal blow, cut to black, come back up Montana 4 years earlier, whatever, and then you tell the story of season 2, and then at the end of a particular episode, we find ourselves back at this, because I do think that if they're going to kill him this season, they're going to kill him probably around episode 5. That's my guess, my official guess. And that episode 6 and 7 are going to be some setup for where Ellie is going into season 3, and what will be a story that is driven mostly by her. So I think later in the second half of the season, probably episode 5. I mean, because midpoint of the season is like what, episode 3, 4, somewhere between there. So I don't think it happens the first half of the season. I still think 5. That's my guess.
You could still do all those flashbacks leading up to it, then like you said, then you want to drop that whole death scene. But then, like I said, you don't want to take too long, because like I said, the whole point of it is Ellie trying to get back at Abby. So I don't know, because you just want to see her just go on a murder spree with everybody.
Well, I mean, I do want to see her go on a murder spree. It's going to look great on TV.
Yeah, she cuts some poor girl's neck who's just sitting there trying to play a obviously not product placed PSP, just sitting there on the edge of the water playing a PSP, and you come out of the water like you're fucking Solid Snake and just right behind her neck. Like, tell me where Abby's at. She's like, look, man, I don't have anything to do with this. Kills her. I'm like, God damn. Ellie's ruthless in this, man. I was like, what game? I was trying to look like, what game is she playing? That's adorable. That's a PSP. Good product placement, Sony.
Well, you know, they're going to product place. That's what they do.
Oh, there's product placement all over that fucking game. It's hilarious. There's Jack and Daxter's, Uncharted. There's all their other stuff, other Sony stuff in there. It's so funny.
But yeah, I don't know what this season is going to bring. All I know is I'm ready for it. Now, Jeremy, we are less than 24 hours. We are one more sleep away from getting our first taste of season 2. I'm confident that overall it's going to be solid. I mean, are there any fears you have that this might pale in comparison to how good season 1 really was, especially at certain points like episode 3 and like in the last couple episodes specifically? Do you think this is going to meet those expectations, or do you feel like it might fall a little bit short?
I hope it does, because I mean they were obviously fighting an uphill battle. Even because, like I said, the first game was phenomenal. Like I said, end to end story. It was well rounded, and it left you off with kind of a cliffhanger. And like I said, it gave you that moral dilemma of like, you know, was Joel right? That's the whole, like, that's why people keep talking about the game even to this day. You still debate it because that's what you were left with. I'm like, now you continue it. Now it's kind of like, well, now we're going to see a little more of it. And like, now we're still going to be like, was it right? Was it wrong? Well, now this is part 2 is basically, here's the consequences of your actions, you know? And it's a different moral dilemma of like, well, is revenge right? It's like, no, probably not. Because again, it's not going to bring back anyone you love. If that was the case, that someone died, or it's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to solve anything. That was kind of the point. So still a good story point to be told, but, yeah, it's an uphill battle. Like I said, going from game to game and even from season to season. So I hope they do it well. One was very successful, and this seems like it's on the right track to do pretty well. But again, the subject matter we're playing with here is that's the other worry. I'm like, well, like you said, you don't want to lose your audience to this, especially ones that don't have anything prior knowledge of the game. So,
well, and to top it off, Pedro Pascal as an actor is becoming such a big thing. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
the Mandalorian movie, I think, has wrapped filming. They're in post now, and then of course you got Fantastic Four coming out, and he's going to have a continuing presence in the MCU for a while, and then of course this, and then you know he's one of those people that are casting everything right now because his name recognition is higher than most. But yeah, I feel like it's going to meet expectations for me. I'm trying not to put too much on it because I sometimes, as a viewer of things like this, I tend to build myself up a little bit, and then afterwards I see what I've gotten and I feel a little deflated. Even though I know I got good stuff, I still sometimes feel a little deflated. So I'm trying not to get my expectations too high. I just want to see a continued path of great storytelling, great acting, great writing, because that's what the first season had. If it has those things, I'm going to be happy. I'm just going to let this season happen in front of me and just react and enjoy. Like I think we should do when we're watching this kind of stuff anyway, because I think it's going to be the best way to enjoy it. But I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Is there any? You know, what do you think of the cast? What do you think of the marketing so far as well? Give us your predictions, crazy or otherwise. There's again 24 hours from now. We're probably going to have more questions than we do answers, if we're being honest, because it's just the first episode. There's going to be
do my best to fill in the blanks, but
yeah, there's going to be a little bit of setup, I'm sure, but mostly it's just going to be establishing where they are in the world as it exists there. He said the text says Last of Us show through a curveball and Swamp getting Joel the beat down and having him take out Mrs. Girl Power and retell the story a different way. Nah, you know what? HBO, with a few exceptions here and there, HBO and some of the people they've been working with to make stuff like Chernobyl and stuff like that, they haven't really gone the way of over applying inclusivity, which is good. I mean, even Ellie being a lesbian, I mean, that's part of the game, right? So it's not like you're changing the character and who they are. There's precedent in the game. As long as they stick to that precedent in the game for who the characters are, then I'm fine. I mean, I really don't care. But all I want to see is some cool zombie action and or cordyceps, whatever they are in this game.
Clickers, runners.
Do you think we're gonna now what infected kinds of characters have we seen so far, and how many more have we not seen? Because I know that they did not blow their wad of all the kinds of clickers they were going to show us in season 1. I knew that very quickly. So, and since there's been a second game and even probably some development on a third game, at least artistically. What kind of cool clicker monsters do you think we're going to get this season?
I'm freaking the fuck out because I just remembered. Now, admittedly, one of the coolest parts of doing Abby's back half of the story, I was like, because again, sequel. What do? You go bigger. You get worse stuff coming at you. There is an infected, and this is a real thing. If you look it up, if you know what a rat king is, a rat king is like when a bunch of rats get tangled, their tails get tangled up into one another. They basically become this big amalgamation of all these rat bodies that are just one big entity. So imagine that, but a bunch of infected, but basically tanked out like a fucking bloater. That is one of the most horrifying fucking things. I thought clickers were bad. This was just more bad because it was imposing. And as much as I would have loved to have seen Ellie take it on, I was like, I'm kind of glad it's Abby because Abby's like twice her size. And I'm like, she's shitting her pants. I'm like, yeah, and so am I. I'm like running around this fucking room, this like multi-tiered building trying to get away from this thing that takes up an entire room. Like, it's horrifying. I think of like the movie Society, if you know what that is. Like the scene where they're all just mushed into each other. Yeah, it's that. So that would be cool to see because, like I said, the big one in episode or season 1 was the bloater coming out of the ground. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a big. You've seen plenty of infecteds and runners, which are just faster, and clickers, which are bad enough. And then you see a bloater come out. You're like, it's basically someone who's been infected for so long. It basically makes armor, like it just hardens all this stuff over their body, and they become tanky.
Well,
like I said, then they're like, all right, now make them kiss. Now it's this thing.
Well, let's go into this real quick since I've got it handy here. All the zombie types in the Last of Us Explained. This is from our friends at Screen Rant. Stage 1, the runners, couple days to couple weeks. We've seen plenty of those. Stage 2, the stalker, 2 weeks to a year later. That's obviously an image from the game, which still looks cool as shit. Let's see. Stage 3, cool. my personal favorite, the clicker from 1 year, 1 year or more. Let's just say, and then of course, probably Jeremy's favorite, the final stage, several years after infection, the bloater, which is kind of awesome. And then there's also this one they point out, the final stage variation, the shamblers. It also says it's several years after infection. Right. I don't really know. I don't know if they mentioned in the game, Jeremy, how if the infection affects certain people differently. I don't know what kind of biology they try to give you in the game. But I'm interested to see what kind of new clicker, what kind of new zombified person they throw at us in this. If you
want to look up right there, look up the Rat King, The Last of Us 2, and if you get an image of it, it's scary. Yeah, if you want to look that up, I forgot about Shamblers. Yeah, I think it's like the worst. That's right. Shamblers are the ones that kind of explode like boomers from Left 4 Dead. Forgot about that.
Get an image of the Rat King. This is the one that's going to give us the best look at kind of how creepy his body might actually be. So let's go ahead and save this one.
Oh, you're going to go. Oh, God,
it's not so dark that we can't kind of see the stuff. That's
the cool thing about Last of Us is it gives you like character models that you can unlock throughout the game where you can like see in detail like human characters, infected characters, stuff like that.
Yeah, here's some artwork that gives us that I pulled up for the Rat King. So that's something.
Yeah, that's that's what I was describing. It's like you took a bunch of Play-Doh clickers and just mushed them together, and oh my good God, dude! Like you're probably, if I had to guess, if I remember from the game, I think Abby probably stands to like just above its knee right there. What I would assume is its knee. Where all those like mushrooms look they're growing, like with that little arm on the left side is kind of the big fat arm. You're probably only about that tall to it. It's massive.
So that thing would look like fucking Godzilla.
Yeah, like I said, it takes up like a whole room. It's like it's crawling through this. I think we were in like apartment building. I'm going up and down like levels. I'm trying to get around it, trying to get an angle on it. I'm dumping every bullet that I like don't have to spare. Basically, every tactic I'm trying to do to kill this thing. It's like God, it gave me a run for its money. It's horrifying. So maybe we'll see that. That'd be interesting.
Oh, it does have this. Oh, okay. This might be. I don't know if this is a picture from it or not, but anomaly variation.
Yeah, that is.
The Rat King. I had not looked all the way down this thing.
I was wondering. I'm like, it's got to be in there. Yeah, Abby's down there in the right hand. That's her back of her head. That's her light shining down the hallway when you fucking like see it. It's no, kill it with fire.
As a fungal infection, the behavior of the Cordyceps virus will take on some unbelievable and horrifying appearances throughout the Last of Us series. In some certain cases, the evolution of the infection can result in a unique zombie monstrosity. The Rat King from The Last of Us Part 2 is one of those anomalies. The creature formed decades after the outbreak of the virus and is the result of an infected growing into each other to form a giant infected The Last of Us zombie. Wowzers. If this zombie appears in the show in later seasons, it will no doubt be the greatest threat Joel and Ellie have to face. Joel may not be around when this thing.
Well, I don't think Joel's gonna see it
because if you're gonna put something that looks like this in the show, it's gonna be one of the additions you make right at the end to really raise the stakes for the final episode. But the Rat King is a horrifying zombie at The Last of Us. We'll have to wait a season or two to show while showing us build the characters, outline the story, and populate the world. So
leave that for later.
Yeah, that's wowzers.
Yeah, I was not ready for that. Yeah, that thing. You see what I'm saying? Its whole head kind of took up that hallway, that kind of doorway wide bit of that building. It's like it's not the room you want to walk into.
I don't even know in the game how do you beat that thing.
I'm trying to remember. Like I said, all I remember is like crafting every sort of bomb. I was trying to shrapnel bomb. I was trying to get it to stop. I think it's eventually you just lead it through. I think it's just eventually does the building like come down? I think because it's not a structurally sound building. I don't think. I remember being like a wood, just a normal like apartment building. I don't remember. Do you even kill it? Because again, that's not. I'd be okay with not killing it. At least like getting yourself away from it is part of the point.
Yeah, Tex says Evil Dead Rise had the human version of The Last of Us Rat King with all the Jedi's joining together. I was actually thinking of that myself, Tex. I don't know why that scene jumped out at me as soon as he was starting to describe it. But yeah, that was a pretty cool scene too. She's chopping that thing up with a chainsaw. That's good. That's good gore right there. High quality stuff. But I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't played part 2, so I don't really know the mechanisms, the weapons you have available to you, and things like that. I haven't played part 1 in like 100 years. It feels like so. Yeah, all I play anymore is a little bit of Call of Duty and some Fortnite with Jeremy. That's about it, and some occasional. I have Dig Dug and Miss Pac-Man on my PlayStation, which is pretty cool. I go old school Galaga. I have Galaga.
Oh yeah. It says that the player is advised to save bombs, the flamethrower, I forgot what the flamethrower, ammunition, and craft as many incendiary rounds as you can in order to deal massive damage to this infected quickly. Should also often run and keep their distance. Yeah, no shit. Because it can charge through any type of attack, even fire assaults. If it does not escape, the Rat King will kill Abby. Either by corroding her skin or snapping her neck and violently ripping her limbs off. That's right. It has phases. The first phase of the fight, it splits into 2 parts, a bloater and stalker part. That's right. The stalker is pretty much invincible until the bloater half is killed. You should focus on luring the bloater half into the supply room in the back corner of the basement. Funnel it into the corridor and resupply an ammunition. Once the bloater half is killed, the stalker half will flee into another room. You should ensure to collect all supplies in the basement before pursuing the stalker. When a player reaches events, the stalker will attack them, starting the 3rd phase of the fight. Yeah, this went on for a while. Stalker can hide and throw spore bomb. It's fucking annoying. I forgot it splits up. The player should focus on closing the distance. If the player is skilled enough to melee, no, I'm not melee combating. I'm gonna run out of bullets before I do that. However, it should only be done if you can effectively dodge attacks. Yeah, you're dodge rolling like in Dark Souls. That's what you're doing. Use your weapons. Yeah, I was going to say, it does split up and you have to kill it individually. Oh, man. That's a whole episode right there, I think. Jesus.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Again, we're less than 24 hours away. Highly anticipated.
Yes.
Second season of Last of Us. I'm very much looking forward to this. This is one of my most anticipated things to see this year. I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high, but I'm confident. I'm confident in the showrunners. I'm confident in everything they've got going, the people, the dialogue from last year. I'm confident in the way that they've built this, especially with Craig Mazin. Like I said, Chernobyl is such a fantastic show. I've spent a couple of Saturdays getting up early and starting with episode 1 and going right through it over the course of the day. It's that good that I've watched through it 3 or 4 times now. And yeah, so I'm confident in the people that are putting this thing on. I have a lot of high expectations, high hopes for this. I'm pretty sure it's going to be great. But I don't know, Jeremy, any final bold predictions you want to make on what we might see in season 2?
There's a death I didn't mention, and a suggestion of a death, which I mean doesn't really matter because they didn't die, but I don't want to spoil that. I will say sometimes I'm like, well, I can spoil the game. The game is what happened, but I'm like, I don't know what the show's going to do. It doesn't mean they're going to do it the same way, you know? So, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about that, I was like, as much as, man, I don't know if that show would have the balls to, like, Ellie or Dina gives birth and then, like, they fucking end up losing the kid or something. I was like, because I wonder if that was, because I'm like, I don't know if that was supposed to be like a setup for like, okay, now we have this next generation of somebody in this world. I was like,
well, you know, story-wise, I'm glad you said that. Story-wise, we have to ask ourselves this question. What comes first, the birth of Dina's baby or Joel dying? Because if one happens before the other, it could greatly, yeah. I mean, it could. Well, yeah, in the game, sure, but I mean, in the movie, that greatly alters how the story progresses in between those two times. So, what do you think happens first, the baby being born or Joel dying?
Well, I think they find. I mean, they probably find out early that Dina's pregnant, but like it doesn't. She doesn't have an. I don't know if you really even see. There's no like birth scene. It's just like you see them. It's some time has obviously passed, of course. So she's had the kid. And he's infant-ish age. There's a cute scene like where they have an old tractor on the farm, and Ellie's just sitting on the tractor, like just with him in her lap, just having a fun time. So some time has passed, but I was just like, that's still a pretty important. Like I said, finding out that she's pregnant is closer to like Joel dying than like the kid being born, at least in the game. So I still think having Joel bite the dust, and then now you got to find out that now they're on this journey, and then oh crap, this whole time now my girlfriend's pregnant. Like shit. Cue the Seinfeld, just until next time. So I don't know. Yeah, that's 2 big story points. I forgot. Ellie does kill a pregnant woman, which is also kind of funny.
Bad juju, Ellie. Bad juju.
She, like I said, even when she has been seeing red, I think she even had a no shit. Like when because I don't think she knew it. So she killed this person, and she kind of like rolled her jacket her, and she realized her stomach was like out to here, and she was like, "Oh!" I'm like, "This is what this has come to, Ellie." I'm like, "Your rage right now has gotten you to kill a pregnant woman, kind of unknowingly, but man, yeah, that was a rough scene. I remember that now." God.
Well, Texas suggesting a crossover between them and Star Wars. Grogu's going to show up to save him.
Sure.
A multiverse, a collision. What do they call it in the MCU? Like. Whatever, I don't know. Multiverse stuff sucks, but hopefully they'll be done with it soon, and we can get on to some other more cohesive stories. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm excited. I'm confident that it's going to be good, no matter what it is. There are some things I can kind of see coming. There are some things I'm sure they're going to surprise the hell out of me, and that's kind of what I'm looking for as surprises. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thanks to my good friend Jeremy for coming and hanging out. Where can the folks at home find you, sir?
Well, Tuesday and Thursdays, and apparently Saturday. But no, just at least to give some predictions on this show. So yeah, here doing that, and not I have to somehow make Die Hard and Last of Us make sense. I don't know. I did have a yippee-ki-yay moment in the game. I still have it saved on my PlayStation somewhere where just this infected was just dodging my fucking knife attack, and eventually I pulled out a shotgun and blew his goddamn head off his shoulders. And I think Ellie just loaded a shotgun, and she goes like, fuck's sake. I'm like, right, I feel the same way. Goddamn. Yeah, so we'll be back here Tuesday talking about episode 1. So
yeah, I may even go. I'm planning on watching it Sunday night as soon as it drops before I go to bed. I'm gonna stay up a little late to watch it, but But yeah, I might drop a short review, give you some quick thoughts before we. It's going to be nice. They're dropping on Sundays. Jeremy and I will have a full 24 or 48 hours to kind of process and mull it over. Jeremy will have a chance to kind of formulate what he's going to say, since he's so much more knowledgeable about the game than I am.
I might have a notebook again.
yeah, some notes are going to be taken. But we are going to be back Tuesday for Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really dope. So come back and check us out on Tuesday for that. And I forget what the hell review we're doing on Thursday, but we'll be doing that as well. So come check us out. Very much appreciate it. My friend Jeremy, thanks for coming out and being so awesome. As always, thanks to all of you. We had and Rumble going tonight. Go join us on Rumble as well. We're really close to monetization on Rumble. I will deal with Rumble because Rumble's awesome. But go follow us on Rumble as well.
Give us money.
That says Jeremy's going to borrow my notebook gimmick. No, I've been in his house. I've seen the notes.
Excuse me. I'm borrowing Yvette Nicole Brown's notebook gimmick from Last of Us, sir. Thank you.
And BJ, thank you so much for coming. We very appreciate having you here. We appreciate having all of you here. We'll see you on Tuesday. Until next time. Adios. I mean, who the hell knows what this is going to bring? I'm still sticking with episode 5. I feel like they're going to keep him around for a bit. They're going to build tension. I think it's going to be awesome.
Over under, I'll still say 3.
Still say I'm holding 5. Unless they change my mind. Unless they actually do whack him in the first 5 minutes of the episode like Texas.
That could happen. I don't know.
Bye, everybody.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.